The formula for passing IELTS speaking parts 1, 2, and 3. Welcome to Speak English with Tiffani. I am teacher Tiffani. Let's jump right in. Now, there are 3 parts for the IELTS speaking test. Part 1 is the introduction, Part 2 is talking about a topic, and Part 3 consists of further questions about that topic. Let's start with Part 1. Now, during the introduction phase, the examiner will introduce him or herself and then ask you to introduce yourself. Now remember, when you're introducing yourself, you should always include 4 parts: your family, your home, your work, and also your interests. So you need 3 pieces of information for each of those sections. So for family, I chose parents, sisters, and husband. For home, I chose Maryland, 4 seasons, popular. For work, I chose Samsung, 4 years, and design. And for interests, I chose drawing, cycling, and reading. So when I add this information to my introduction, it looks like this. Now, as you can see, I have all of the information: my husband, my parents, 2 sisters, Maryland, a popular state, 4 seasons, intern, Samsung, design, and drawing, cycling, and reading. However, we need to see how do we connect all of this information. So let's look at some patterns. Okay, so our introduction looks like this. Hello, my name is Tiffani. My family consists of my husband, my parents, and my 2 sisters. Now, what you will notice is when I spoke about my family, I used this expression, consists of. So when you speak about your family, you want to use this expression as well, consists of. We're going to put it on the left side, and consists of just means includes. So let's change that really quickly. L-U-D-S. Okay, so when you speak about your family during the IELTS speaking test, remember to say, my family consists of. Okay, let's keep going. For the past 2 years, my husband and I have been living not too far away from my parents' home. Now, you'll see that when I spoke about where I live with my husband, I used the expression or the pattern, not too far away from. So let's write it on the left side. Not too far away from. Now, this pattern literally just means close. Yeah, you actually can just say, my house is close to my parents' house. But remember, for the IELTS speaking introduction part, you want to use the most natural form of English. So instead of just saying, my house is close to my parents' house, you can say, my house is not too far away from my parents' house. You will sound more fluent, and your English will also be more impressive to the person listening to you. Okay, let's keep going. Our home is in Maryland, which is quite a popular state to live in because it is near Washington, D.C. Now, in this sentence, we see the pattern, which is quite. Now, which is quite is just a pattern or an expression that we use when we want to give a little bit more detail about what we previously mentioned. So we're going to put here details. Let's cross that A. So you can also use this pattern when you speak about your home during your introduction. One more time, which is quite. Okay, let's keep going. It has all 4 seasons. I currently work as an intern for Samsung. My job entails working on web design projects. Now, let's see what I said right here. My job entails. Now let's add this to the left side. My job entails. Okay, now What you'll notice about this expression or this pattern is entails. Entails actually means the same thing as our previous pattern consists of. It means includes. So, when you talk about your job during your introduction, you're going to mention your duties or what you have to do at your job. So, for example, you can say, I currently work as a teacher. My job entails teaching English to adults and children. You see, I gave you an example of my duties, and the expression or the pattern you want to use is my job entails. Okay, let's keep going. As far as my interests, I enjoy drawing, cycling, and reading in my free time. Now, in this last sentence, the last part of our introduction, I said, as for my interests. Now, this is also a very natural expression that native English speakers use when they are talking about certain things. So, as for my interests. Now, when you are giving your introduction, in the beginning, you talked about yourself. Then you talked about your family. Then you talked about where you live. Then you talked about your job. And now you're changing the subject to your interests. So we use this when we want to transition. So we want to switch from one topic to the next topic. So I was talking about my job, but now I want to talk about my interests. So I say, as for my interests, and then I continue to explain or express what I enjoy doing. Remember, these are very good patterns to use when you're giving your introduction. Again, consists of, use it when you speak about your family. Not too far away from, use it when you're speaking about your home or where you live. Which is quite, you use that pattern when you're speaking about details during your introduction. My job entails, use that when you want to give examples of the duties you have at your job. And as for my interests is used when you want to transition or switch from talking about one topic and going to speaking about your interests or your hobbies. Okay, let's keep going. Now let's go to part 2, talking about the topic. In this part, the examiner will give you a task card which asks you to talk about a particular topic, including points to include in your talk. So as you'll notice, we have the who, what, when, where, and why. This is key for this part of the test. So let's say, for example, the topic is describe a piece of art you like. So what I've done is I've chosen Lucas, which is the title of a piece of art that I like. And I've chosen who, why, and when as my 3 W's. So for who, I put Chuck Close. He's an American painter, a photorealist, and a photographer. For why, I said I like the process, the patterns, the minute details. Minute just means small. And also many colors. And for when, I chose 1967, which is the year this painting was painted. And I gave 3 more details about that year related to the painting and the artist. I said, decided to make art for himself, decided to stop using paintbrushes, and also decided to throw away all of his tools. So when we see all of this information inside of our answer, it looks like this. You see, I have all of the information. Chuck Close, American painter, photorealist, photographer, love the process, patterns, minute details, many colors, 1967, decided to make art for himself, to stop using paintbrushes, and finally decided to throw away all of his tools. But let's see what patterns we need to use to connect all of this information. Okay, our response or answer to the topic looks like this. One of my favorite pieces of art is titled Lucas. It was painted by an artist named Chuck Close, who is an American painter. He is well known for being an amazing photorealist. Now, in this sentence, you'll see that I said, well known for being. Okay, so let's add this to the left side and I will explain to you what this is used for. So what this pattern means. well known for being. Now this pattern actually just means popular for or popular because. For example, let's think of a famous actor in a movie in America. So let's say Brad Pitt. Now many people in the world know who Brad Pitt is. He's very popular. So I can say Brad Pitt is well known for being a great actor. So what happened? In front of this pattern, I say the person's name that I am talking about. Then I say is well known for being, and after that, I give a fact or I give some piece of information that proves their popularity. He's a good actor, or he also looks very handsome. So he is well known for being a handsome actor. Okay, let's keep going. On top of that, he is also a photographer. Okay, now, real quick, for pronunciation, in America, we say this two ways, photographer or photographer. So don't worry, it depends on what part of America the person may live in, and even in some parts of England. But photographer or photographer, both are okay. So let's keep going. The pattern I want us to look at is on top of that. So on the left side, on top of that. Now, this pattern is used when you want to say also or in addition. So you want to give an extra detail, an extra piece of information. So for example, you can say, my car is really nice. It has a very good navigation system. On top of that, it was inexpensive. So what happened? I told you one detail about my car. Well, it has a really good navigation system. Then I gave you one more detail. It wasn't that expensive. Okay, let's keep going. I love the process he uses for his paintings because of the patterns it produces. Also, the minute details and many colors are amazing. His style changed around 1967 because he decided to make art for himself and to stop using paintbrushes. Now, in the middle of this sentence we see his style changed around 1967. So, the pattern here is actually just a word, around. Now, when we speak in English, we use around to also mean about. When we want to give a guesstimate, or if we don't know the exact time or the exact date, we can say around. So I can say, I got to my class around 10 a.m. or I got to my class about 10 a.m. It means maybe it was 10:05, maybe it was 9:55. It was around or about that time. So when you are speaking during your test, during the IELTS speaking portion, if you're speaking about a topic and you don't know an exact detail, you can also use around. I think the painting was done around 1935. I think the painting was produced around 15 years ago. Okay, let's keep going. He also decided to throw away all of his tools. All right, so now we've finished talking about this topic. Let's move on. Now, in part 3, they are going to ask you further questions. The examiner will ask you further questions which are connected to the topic of part 2. So you will discuss more abstract issues and ideas. Now remember, the topic that I chose was a piece of art, and I spoke about the who, the when, and the why. But I didn't mention the what or the where. So this is what happens for part 3. If they ask you another question about who, maybe they ask me another question about Chuck Close, I put a +1. I've already given 3 details about him, so I'm just going to add one more detail about him. So if they ask you any question related to one of the three W's you've already spoken about, you just need to add one more detail. However, if they ask a question about one of the W's that you have not spoken about, you need to give 3 details for that response. So for example, what and where. I didn't speak about where the piece was painted, nor did I speak about any specific details about the painting. So what I've chosen to do is have them ask me a question regarding what. So they can say, tell me more about the painting. Well, we know that's what. So I need to give 3 pieces of information. So I've chosen representative of his colorful style, image of fellow artist Lucas Samaras, and a painting based on a grid over a photo. So I'm giving more details about the painting related to what, because I have not spoken about that yet. So my answer to this further question would look like this. I have representative of the colorful style, painting of a fellow artist, then I have the artist's name, Lucas Samaras, and I also have a painting based on a grid that was placed over a photo. Now again, let's look at the patterns we need to connect this information. Okay, now let's see how our answer to this further question looks. In speaking about this painting, many art critics have said that it is representative of the colorful style Chuck Close has come to be known for. Now, in this one sentence, we have 3 different patterns that we need to take a closer look at. Let's start with the first one. In speaking about. Okay, so let's write it on the left side here. In speaking about. Now, this expression or this pattern is used when we want to put focus on a topic and then lead to a person's opinion on that topic. So here I'll write it like this. First, we want to put focus on a topic, and then that leads to a person's opinion on that topic. So, for example, in speaking about this car, my uncle said that it's the best car for people who are on a budget. So what happened? What was the topic? This car. Who was the person? My uncle. And what was his opinion? It is the best car for people on a budget. Okay, let's look at this one more time. Again, in speaking about, you first want to think about the topic. So what's the topic? Let's say fast food, like McDonald's or Burger King. In speaking about fast food, the doctor said it is not good for people to eat it every day. So what happened? What was the focus? Fast food, right? So in speaking about fast food, the person was the doctor. What was his opinion? His opinion was people should not eat it every day. So in speaking about fast food, the doctor said people should not eat it every day. Okay, so when you're giving your response to a question that they're asking you about the topic you already spoke about, you want to now add more information. So when you use this pattern in speaking about, it shows that now you're thinking of not only your opinion, but also the opinion of other people. It shows that you're thinking very deeply. So it's an excellent pattern to use when you get to part 3 of the IELTS speaking test. Okay, let's move on to the next one. We see it right here. Representative of. Okay, so let's take it to the left side. Representative of. Now, this pattern just means a good example of. It's the same meaning, a good example of. but it puts more emphasis on whatever you're speaking about being almost the best example. So, for example, if you're thinking about, we mentioned fast food, so let's stay with that topic. So, McDonald's is representative of fast food in America. What happened? McDonald's is a good example of what fast food is like in America. Okay, let's keep going to the next one. Has come to be known for. Has come to be known for. So let's write it here. Come to be known for. Now, this pattern is actually very similar to a pattern we mentioned a little earlier in this video lesson. It just means well known for. Now, the only difference is instead of it just meaning well known for, it emphasizes that there was a process that happened over time that led this person or this thing to become popular or well known. For example, let's say Obama. Obama came to be known for his kindness to citizens. So he was the president, but over time, people watched how kind he was to people. So he came to be known for his kindness to others. Okay, let's keep going. Chuck Close himself informed people that it is actually a painting of a fellow artist whose name is Lucas Samaras. Now, in this sentence, the first three words are very interesting. Chuck Close himself. So, let's write this on the left side. We have a person's name and then either himself or it can also be herself. Now, we use this pattern when we want to emphasize that they personally did or said something. So, emphasis on an action or a statement. Let's see if we can get this all in here. There we go. Emphasis on an action or a statement. So, the king himself said that citizens should always work together. So what happened? I could have just said, the king said citizens should always work together. But I wanted to put emphasis on an action or a statement. So I said, the king himself said that citizens should always work together. So remember, when you're answering during the third part of the IELTS speaking test, you want to use these patterns to show that you're giving more information and also that you're thinking not only about your opinion, but about someone else's opinion to add to your answer. Now, if you really want to learn more about how to pass the IELTS speaking test, you need to go to speakenglishwithtiffany.com/courses and click on the IELTS speaking course. Enroll today. You can pass this test.